Hello.
Hello.
Good morning,
Good morning.
and welcome to those of you that are here in person and also to those of you that are online. My name is Bruce Baird, and I serve on your board of directors here at Unity of Tustin. And just a reminder, if you haven't already, could you please take a moment to silence your cell phones? Reverend Shara is with us today, as well as, bravo, as well as Lynn Wood, to continue the exploration of embodied spirituality, focusing on Earth Day. Our musical guest is Brian Wood, who is Lynn's son. Thank you, Brian. This is a wonderful collaboration, and we thank both of you for being with us. A few announcements. Please mark your calendars for our annual car wash-a-thon. This is going to be on May 18th, and this is the only annual fundraiser for the Youth and Family Life Ministry. And the funds from this fundraiser are to raise money to send our kids to the Unity Summer Camp, which is in July. Next Saturday, May 3rd, is World Labyrinth Day. It's from noon to 2 p.m., and we plan to walk as one at 1 to create a wave of peaceful energy. Please join us. There is still time to sign up for Lynn's class, which is Somatic Descent, Your Body is Your Guru. And this will begin this coming Thursday at 10 a.m., and that will be in the sanctuary. So let's all now stand for our congregational song.
Here we are again. So we'll sing it first time in unison, and then we will divide up into part 1, part 2, part 3. So here we go.
God will make of us spiritual giants. God will make of us spiritual giants. Can you feel the power moving? Can you feel the power moving? Now is the acceptable time. Now is the acceptable time.
Group 1.
God will make of us spiritual giants. God will make of us spiritual giants. Can you make of us spiritual giants? Can you make of us spiritual giants? Now is the acceptable time. Now is the acceptable time. God will make of us spiritual giants. God will make of us spiritual giants. Can you make of us spiritual giants? Can you make of us spiritual giants? Can you feel the acceptable time? Now is the acceptable time. 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 Now is the acceptable time.
Thank you. That was perfection.
Boy, I can see a vast improvement. It's good. Okay. My name is John Claude Pinto, and I'm a Pratt chaplain. And with that, I get the honor of reading the daily word and also lighting the Christ candle. Now, why do we light the Christ candle? It's a reminder that we have this Christ consciousness within us. It's a one Christ consciousness that we come together here. And it's such a blessing to feel that. And that's a reminder to recognize that when we light the Christ candle. The daily word today is freedom. Okay. And the affirmation is spiritual living is my path to freedom. Okay. And the spiritual text is Psalm 119:45, which is, I shall walk at liberty, for I've sought your precepts. The reading, looking back over the years, I remember the way I felt less than free. Maybe I felt limited because of my background or personal history, my education or career, or because of things others believed about me. Without even realizing, I may have taken on a limited view of myself and what was possible for my life. But discovering the truth of myself as a spiritual being, a beloved child of God, has healed my heart and freed my soul. My life circumstances are only part of my story. I'm so much more than the sum total of my experiences. My freedom lies in God and my understanding of myself as divine. As I grow in confidence, realizing I can change my life through the power of my thoughts, I grow more free. So I'll say the affirmation and then we'll sit together. Spiritual living is my path to freedom. Together. Spiritual living is my path to freedom. Okay. And I think, is it you? Oh, it's on board.
Good morning, Unity of Tustin, and good morning, everyone online. Wasn't last Sunday amazing? Being outdoors with the most perfect day of the whole year. And it's lovely to continue kind of that Easter spirit coming forward, that trust that really everything that falls away leads to new life and new love. And today, we're going to continue our exploration of embodied spirituality, what it is, what it's not, why it's important, and that really dovetails very well with Earth Day. Because when we're talking about embodiment, we're talking about recognizing the holy wisdom within embodiment, which is both within, between, among, and with the earth itself. So it's this consciousness that we are part of a holy, living creation. But to get started, I wanted to honor in today's opening prayer the passing of Pope Francis. And as many of you who followed him know, that his teachings very much were in alignment with Jesus' teachings. And throughout the New Testament, Jesus is really calling for a new story, a new way of being together in the world. And Pope Francis also called for this same type of world, this world that cared for the marginalized, safeguarded the health of our planet, and protected human rights. So on Palm Sunday, 2 weeks ago, Craig gave a brilliant talk. And one of the things he talked about was the oft-quoted saying, "Be the change you wish to see in the world," which is usually attributed to Gandhi, but was really written by pioneering Brooklyn teacher Arlene Lawrence. I'm from Brooklyn, so, Brooklyn pride. And so today's opening prayer, I'm going to read something similar but different. This is an inspirational writing that's being attributed to Pope Francis, but was really written by someone completely unknown. Has anyone heard that when reading what Pope Francis wrote in his last days in the hospital? Yeah, it wasn't him. But it really talks about this spirit of our values of love, abundance, integrity, inclusiveness, gratitude, and joy, and what we are doing here, and how all of us come together with our love and our treasures and service through time and talent to create this beloved community that is very similar to the one that I will read about today. And we take this that we're developing here, and we are also passing it on to the next generation. I was on a Zoom call last week with Ryan Eisner of the Chalice and the Blade fame. And she talked about how spiritual masters like Jesus are calling for a partnership model, which we do here. We live this, we embody this here. It's not an idea, it's not a map. We'll be talking about that later. It is the territory that we create. And she said that individuals and communities and healthy families do not arise in a vacuum, but are embedded in, affect, and are affected by the larger culture or subculture of which they are a part. And we've been seeing and celebrating more and more how our subculture here at Unity of Tustin is supporting us to be healthy individually and collectively, but in particular supporting this next generation of leaders, this consciousness of the future to really embody the core values that matter most. So here is Pope Francis reflecting from the hospital, not written by Pope Francis, reflecting from the hospital. The walls of hospitals have heard more honest prayers than most churches. They have witnessed far more sincere kisses than those in airports. It is in hospitals that you see someone who is homophobic being saved by a gay doctor, a privileged doctor saving the life of a beggar, a Jew taking care of a racist, a police officer and a prisoner in the same room receiving the same care, a wealthy patient waiting for a liver transplant, ready to receive the organ from a less well-off donor. In these moments, when the hospital touches the wounds of people, these different worlds intersect according to a divine design. And in this communion of destinies, we realize that alone we are nothing. This life will pass quickly, so do not waste it fighting with people. Do not criticize your body too much. Do not complain excessively. Do not lose sleep over bills. Do not worry too much about keeping the house spotless. Thank goodness. Make sure to hug your loved ones. You are waiting for too much. Christmas, Friday, next year, when you have money, when love arrives, when everything is perfect. Well, listen, perfection does not exist. A human being cannot attain it because we are simply not made to be fulfilled here. Here, we are given an opportunity to learn. So, make the most of this trial of life and do it now. Respect yourself, respect others, walk your own path, and let go of the path others have chosen for you. Love more, forgive more, embrace more, live more intensely, and leave the rest to the Creator. So let's take that into prayer and really feel in our bodies that last line of how we are being called by love itself to love more, to forgive more, to embrace more, to live more intensely and in the moment. And we are embodying this in Unity of Tustin as our sacred community. And we do our 100% with love, with sincerity, and we leave the rest in the hands of God. Amen. Hey, we are going to do a little bit of a new segment today. This is the board update, where board members come and they really tell you what's going on with our community shoulder to shoulder as partners, owners in our community. But we're even going to experiment with a little Q&A led by our new board treasurer, Bruce Baird. Bruce?
Yeah, I got chosen for this. So at the 1st of March, at our board meeting, and this was before our annual meeting that we had, the board reviewed the first of the 10 commitments of conscious leadership, which is radical responsibility. And we felt that this should be shared with the congregation in relation to the commitment of thriving on this beautiful property for at least the next 10 years. As you recall, this is something that we made a commitment to at the beginning of February. Since then, the advisory committee has agreed to research the estimated cost to maintain our campus for the next 10 years. Based on their report, we will plan for a campus thriving campaign, probably at the end of this year or at the beginning of 2026. And the purpose of this will be to create a reserve fund that will meet these anticipated expenses so we can keep this place looking beautiful. So now let's go back to the idea of radical responsibility. The board discussed presenting this concept at the annual meeting in March. And we decided that that would be too much for an already busy agenda, so that's why we're doing it today. Therefore, I would like to do something that's a little different in that we're going to show a video. It's a 3-minute video, and after the video, we're going to have a short discussion. So anyway, Tony, would you please start the video?
What's your hidden iceberg? Brought to you by the Conscious Leadership Group. Find us on the web at www.conscious.is. Commitment number 1 of the 15 commitments is the commitment to take radical responsibility and end blame and criticism. Radical responsibility is a willingness to pay attention to results, not words, to the results that are actually occurring in your life, rather than what you say you want. Most people believe you can tell what you're committed to by what you say. For example, we hear leaders say they're committed to build a world-class team, have a great culture, lead their industry in innovation, be a great parent, partner, friend, or leader, get back in shape, have balance in their life. On and on the list goes, telling yourself and everyone else what it is that you want, what you say you're committed to. When we talk to these leaders, they tell us that what they say they want is not what they're actually creating. Their team is not aligned and engaged. Their culture still has toxic sludge. They haven't had the breakthrough innovation they want. They're not living up to their own expectations as a parent, partner, friend, or leader. They're 15 pounds overweight. They are overwhelmed and don't have life balance. Most leaders want to talk to us about how they can get what they say they want, what they say they're committed to. In our experience, having that conversation is not practicing radical responsibility. There is another, more important conversation. Let us explain. This is an iceberg. 1/4 of the iceberg is above the water and 3/4 is below. What's below the water is most significant. The same is true about conscious leadership. What's above the water for a conscious leader is what you say. What's below the water are your results, what is actually occurring. What's above the water is your conscious desire, and what's below the water is your unconscious commitment. Psychology has known for a long time that the unconscious is powerful, really powerful. They have debated how to discover what is in the unconscious. Conscious leaders are willing to take a shortcut to discover their unconscious commitments. They simply look at the results of their lives and own them. So if you hear yourself saying, "I want balance in my life," you're above the water, conscious desire. And what is actually occurring is that you haven't taken time off for 6 months, and you're frazzled and burning out. You're below the water, unconscious commitment. You stop believing your words and start owning your results. In practice, this is simply saying to yourself and those around you, "I'm unconsciously committed to not taking time off, being frazzled, and burning out while telling the world I want balance." This is radical responsibility, and it shifts the whole game. You stop complaining and start owning. Now that you have owned your unconscious commitment, you can examine it by asking wonder questions from genuine curiosity like, how is this pattern familiar? How do you keep this pattern going? What do you get from keeping this pattern going? We've never met anyone who isn't getting some positive payoff from their unconscious commitments. Another question is, the lifelong pattern you're noticing is, what is the action step I could take to be 100% responsible for this issue? When you and others around you take radical responsibility for your unconscious commitments, you'll create breakthrough insights and solutions that will stop your issues from continuing to recycle. So, what's your hidden iceberg?
There we go. I needed light so I could read my notes. So after seeing this video, do you have any wisdom sharing or insights that might apply to our spiritual community? That's the first question for you to consider. The second one is, we have said that we want to thrive on this campus for many more years. How do we create this rather than just say that that is what we want? What can we do as individuals, as small groups, as the congregation as a whole, to own our conscious desire for the future of unity of Tustin. So I open it up to the floor, and Shara has a mic, and we'll be happy to make sure that we can hear what you have to share.
Thank you. My name is Patty, and I celebrate the creativity of our abundant consciousness. And I see these spirit groups and the different long-time ministries coming up with amazing, numerous creative ideas. What I think would help is if we all got together and simplified on maybe 3 or 4 of our desires and all know what each other is doing in that way, and we coordinate, collaborate.
Great. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you. Don't be shy.
Hello, I am Brian, and I believe that fundraising might help us to retain our campus. Money talks. I feel as if I've struck a nerve. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. We will recruit you for our fundraising committee.
I will gladly join.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I want to commend the board and the leadership for looking into and making plans on being very transparent about what the actual costs of staying on this campus are. I'm one of those that wants to stay here and certainly voted for it. However, I also see the underside of it in that we need a new roof here. We need to do something about the trees. We need to get after our sprinkler system, which is, thanks to Steve, is probably the most band-aided sprinkler system in Orange County. There's many different things that we don't really see when we look. I don't know about you, but I come on campus and I feel the serenity of the place, and I really am not looking for the cracks in the sidewalk. However, in order to stay here and to thrive, we have to know, first of all, what we're up against, and I commend you for starting that process.
Thank you, Dan.
And we thank the advisory board for taking on such an important project. Yeah, doing it with excellence.
Yes, I just want to say I hope that what the advisory board does is very comprehensive and not just a whitewash, that they get really deep into what is required around here.
Thank you, Joe.
Great point. And the way I know that advisory board, I think we're in good hands. Anyone else? Any other questions or comments? And some of this, too, is because we really want to have a more participatory style, that even on Sundays, to kind of work with that. And for all of us in our lives and in our community life. So far, we have some pretty amazing fruits. The fruits are really showing that we are unconsciously committed to some pretty fabulous things. And just keep that question for yourself, individually and collectively, and with all of us taking 100% responsibility, like the loaves and the fishes. There is always enough and so much more. Yeah.
Thank you. And now it's time for a song from Brian.
This is called Mother, in thinking of the earth and mother and my mother. And yep, I'll just get to it. On your face, a million rivers flowing, echoes of ages come and gone. And deep within your body, feel the knowing of everything to come. Somewhere in your body there's a home, a place that's nurtured me since I was young. And all the stars and skies are up there glowing, 'cause in the comfort of your heart there's a song, like a deep and beating drum. Do you know what you mean to me? This whole entire world is part of everything, and you know it's such a nice place to be. Well, out there in your field the grass is growing, filling up the dusty roads ahead. The mountains and the canyons are roaring with the laughter of your wind, with the laughter of your wind. Mother, do you know what you mean to me? This whole entire world is part of everything, and you know it's such a nice place to be. Oh, you know it's such a nice place to be.
Thank you so much, Brian, for your original, embodied, creative, and beautiful, beautiful music. I always love sharing Sundays with you. So glad you're here. And yes, once again, hello, everyone. So, it's a little odd. I am now a true, full-time, through and through Californian. And I still have never been to Hawaii. This is unusual for Californians, I find. But right before COVID hit, my family and I, we had a trip to Maui planned. And we had the plane tickets, we had everything booked, we were all ready to go. And we were going to have a leisurely time at Napili Bay, just doing the lounge and beach stuff. And then we were going to do the family adventure part, where we were going to take the long road to Hana. And I did a ton of research, and I can even talk about that road as if I actually was able to go. I know every hairpin turn, waterfall, black sand beach, great snorkeling spot, where to go for your sunset. I researched it as if I have it in my bones. In fact, I can say with almost authority that I only would get queasy on 2 of the hairpin turns and would do better than I expected on the whole rest of the trip. I have such this detailed map of Maui in my mind, but yet I've never really experienced the territory. It's the map and the territory. And this is very much like our spiritual lives sometimes, isn't it? We can read every book about prayer. We can memorize scripture and beautiful quotes. We can rattle off esoteric unity metaphysics. And sometimes still miss the direct experience that those maps are pointing to. And even when we talk about God's presence or compassion or love or peace, there's a way that it can be in our mind and not quite in our body or our bones. And those qualities, love, compassion, peace, they're actually experiences. They're actually felt. They are not ideas. So it's important to really lean into this idea of creation as the body of Christ. But we also have to lie in the grass. We also have to be part and feel ourselves in this living body. And today, as we kind of celebrate Earth Day, that was on April 22nd, it's particularly important to talk about the difference between the spiritual maps we've collected and the territory, that direct embodied experience that is meant to guide us. So this is what we mean. This is what we mean when we're talking about direct experience and being part of all of creation. So on this inquiry, what is embodied spirituality and why does it matter? So in one sense, embodied spirituality is included in some way or another, but often underemphasized or sometimes even misrepresented. For example, the dichotomy between spirit and body that exists in some of our Christian tradition in its practice, where the body was kind of corrupt and the spirit was pure. So it can be in there, but it can be in there in a distorted way. And this is partly because most of the world's spiritual masters and spiritual lineages have been through millennia carried down through the male line. And men tend to gravitate towards the maps. Men like to birth the cosmos. And women tend to birth individual children. So there's a little bit of a difference, and it kind of makes sense that a certain territorial perspective might be underemphasized in some of our traditions, not having the masters of the territory involved in the conversation to the same degree. But then in another sense, embodiment is entirely independent. It's almost like a different approach to spirituality, and it's applicable to all religions and all lineages and all ways of being spiritual in the world, because here we're talking about the universal and the mystical. We all have a body. This is something we all share, whatever tradition we come from. And embodied spirituality is really about a direct experience. And in Unity, this is one of the ways we define being a mystic. Being a mystic is having a direct experience of God. And one metaphor that I've heard that I like, it's almost like all the different spiritual traditions are wells going down into this aquifer. And the one aquifer is the eternal Spirit of God. And it kind of is drawn up through different lineages, which then have different cultural flavors, different nuances, but we're all drawing from that one body of water. And we can say that is the embodiment. That is something we all share wherever we're coming from. And that this direct access to experience and sensation and wisdom is both beyond and below understanding. It surpasses understanding. And that we have this reservoir of the nervous system. And the untraumatized nervous system has a direct access to spirituality, has a direct access to God, has a direct access of the body of Christ. And in our Christian tradition, the incarnation represents God's decision to become flesh. Not just human flesh, but kind of the underpinnings of our Christian tradition is that God chooses to enter fully into the material world where every physical aspect of creation is participating in this divine life. That we have a deep kind of almost like a figure 8 between spirit and matter, spirit and matter, spirit and matter. And the problem, though, is embodied spirituality is not about creating another map. It's about connecting. It's about connecting to the territory. It's about connecting to our felt sense. It's about connecting to each other, connecting to the earth. And sometimes it is uncomfortable and inconvenient to do so. This is what Carl Jung has to say. And Carl Jung is talking about soul, but when Carl Jung talks about soul, he's talking about the unconscious, which we now know is linked to trauma, and trauma is held in the body. So in today's understanding, I would say that Carl Jung would use body and soul almost as one being. This is what he has to say. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls, their own soul bodies. They will practice yoga and all of its exercises. They will observe a strict regimen of diet, learn theosophy by heart, or mechanically repeat mystic texts from the literature of the whole world, all because they cannot get on with themselves and have not the slightest faith that anything useful could ever come out of their own souls or their own bodies. Thus, the soul has gradually turned into a Nazareth from which nothing good can come. So in the Bible, Nazareth was often thought of as the place that was insignificant. Nothing good ever happens in Nazareth. Well, what happened in Nazareth? Jesus was born. That produced Jesus. So he says, therefore, let us fetch it from the four corners of the earth. The more far-fetched and bizarre, the better. And this is part of embodiment. Part of embodiment is we might attune and we might get messages we really don't like. Or we might get messages that don't make sense in the way we've been acculturated to make things true. It might not be provable and it might not be logical. We're talking about different ways of knowing. And these ways of knowing gives us a more complete access to the holiness of all of creation. And this isn't about an either or. It truly is about a both and. The rational, the pre-rational, and the transrational. And from an evolutionary standpoint, when we look at spiral dynamics, maps of consciousness, or even the development of the human life, where at the beginning there are no words. The blueprint for our relationships and attachment as babies and toddlers are the territory. there's not even the capacity to have a map. That hasn't even come online yet. So you can say our mother tongue is the territory. Now, in the evolutionary of consciousness, there was a period of necessary but limited differentiation, this hyper-individualization, this development of abstract thinking and conceptual reasoning that was crucial and allowed us to create technology and culture and civilization. But this development came with the shadow side of disconnection. And disconnection from our bodies, disconnection from nature, disconnection from earth, from each other, from direct experience itself. So the current evolutionary invitation is not to abandon our maps, but to reintegrate them with our embodied knowing. And this integration represents a higher order of complexity. We're becoming a bit more complex here because we're not regressing to the pre-rational consciousness of toddlerhood, but we are including the rational capacities with a more comprehensive way of knowing and being that includes both the pre-rational and the trans-rational. Does this all kind of make sense? Kind of like, why are we inviting this deeper experience into our embodiment? And this is very much what we're doing in our We Space groups as well. You know, it's really a playground of how, what Jung says, far-fetched and bizarre we can get. You know, we are connecting to our body, to our womb, to our heart, to our mind with direct downloads, and attuning through a very subtle felt sense of what wants to be said as prayer for the other person in the moment that is not coming from anything we know about their biological life or their biographical life. It's about developing these capacities to bring online something new that comes from the portal of felt sense going in directly to the mystery and bringing it forward. So I'll go over a map that we are kind of familiar with, because maps are useful. Maps kind of give us a sense of the terrain. They help us know when we're off. They help us understand where we are and why we might be feeling that way. I often refer to spiral dynamics, that map of consciousness. It's very, very useful, even if it is more of a concept and less of the experience. And then sometimes when we talk about the concepts, our bodies can attune to the experience and we can get a hint or a whiff of it. But this was part of our 15 commitments of conscious leadership, and it's used in many new thought communities. There's the map of life happening to me, by me, through me, and as me. So that's a map. It's a map. So when we think life is happening to us, we tend to feel a bit disempowered. We tend to be in the stage of consciousness where we're a bit blaming and reactionary, and we point fingers, and things are never our fault, and there's a lack of accountability, and that's kind of a consciousness that goes with that level. And we come together in spiritual community to see if we can mature to a different wholeness. And if we keep doing that, then we see life happening by me. Now, I have the capacity to have influence on my reality. My divine will with my personal will can manifest things in the world according to divine thought, according to my ideas, according to our collectives, according to that power of manifestation. And I can be part of and take responsibility for the systems I find myself in and show up as my 100%. That's what Bruce was kind of showing that video of, and then really create a new reality. It's a much more empowered way of being in our progression and our maturation. Then after to me, by me, does anyone remember what comes after that? Through me. Through me. So through me is that experience of surrender. Through me is that experience of moving from predict and control and strategize and make happen into a radical experience of sensing. The body becomes really important here. We sense what's going on, and we respond to what's going on, and we respond to the inner directives, and we respond to the outer directives that are emerging as our life. It requires this incredible attunement between the inner and the outer, the listening and the discerning, the clarity and the experimentation, the sandpapering out the truth. We move forward. And then the final stage is as me. So to me, by me, through me, and as me. And when we get to the as me, we become expressions of life itself, where the process of life is happening with no ego and no resistance. The boundaries of me and life dissolve, and there is no separate ego operating at all. This is complete freedom. So, does any of you ever made the poor decision of buying furniture that required assembly? And where the instruction manual has no resemblance to the mysterious parts, and you get the easily assembled in 15 minutes, and 3 hours later you're swearing at the YouTube that you looked up that does it all in 1 minute? The name of that gap between the smiley little graphics and the reality, that is the difference between the map and the territory. And, when I talk about the to me, by me, through me, and as me, when I talk about the as me, I'm actually talking more from the map. I don't know if I know that territory. I read about it. I might have had moments of it in peak life experiences, but that's certainly not my center of gravity, as much as I would love it to be. So the maps can be helpful too, because they can give us an indication of what's possible. They can inspire hope. They can tell us of where we can get to if we keep going, or even how to pretend as if to try to put on that mantle of aspiration. That's what Jesus is. Jesus is a map. He is the map. He is a way shower that tells us what is possible when we are in alignment with Jesus. And, Jesus did not write. Writing is very map-oriented. Territory is very oral. It's about teaching. It's about transmission. In our unity tradition, Charles Fillmore was more of the map maker. We have all of his writings. Myrtle Fillmore was the practitioner. He did too, but she was practitioner. She did prayer treatment. She wrote letters. She did all of that. But that only gets transmitted through relationship or through attunement of the body. So on one level, one way we can access the divinity of Jesus as way shower is to feel Jesus. And we can feel Jesus when we can feel our bodies, when we have that level of connection and attunement, when we can go that deep. And this is where our practices, like prayer and meditation and spiritual counseling, become very helpful. When we meditate, one of the things we're doing many things, but one of the things we're doing is we are learning to be present with what is arising in the moment, in the present, and in our body, without taking that exit back door every time it gets uncomfortable. And that is almost a prerequisite in order to really feel into the wisdom of the body. We really get to be able to sit and sit in the clear light of the wisdom of emergence of the moment. Not get attached to the thoughts and sensations. And I think sensations is what we are cultivating more and more, because that's what's been a bit underrepresented in our traditions. But for me, where I go off spiritual principle is when my nervous system is crazy. That's when I'm not, the thoughts don't get me, it's the body. So how do we get more mastery over that body? Prayer, our prayer life really helps ground and anchor us into faith. When we have faith, we can trust that this body process that doesn't quite make sense the way we're used to things making sense is nevertheless good and is going somewhere spacious, expansive, more towards love, more towards compassion. These experiences that don't mean so much if they are not felt. And how do we get to oneness on earth? It is through the felt sense. Even in therapy, therapy is very much about feeling felt. That's why no matter what the modality, the biggest indicator if you're going to have a successful experience in therapy is if you have a good rapport with the therapist. Because that's what creates the neurological rewiring, is when we feel felt, and that corrective emotional experience and attachment is there. That's what we do here in spiritual community. We create this interconnectedness and interdependency so we are safe enough to do deeper healing work. And sometimes we have individual things. Some of us are dealing with being people pleasers. Other people are dealing with anger. It might depend on your Enneagram type. But there are certain behavior patterns that can be disruptive that can also be helpful in spiritual counseling and in therapy. That really helps us stay present so we can access this deeper wisdom, the wisdom underneath the trauma, so that the trauma can come to the surface and heal. And one of the reasons for those of you who are taking Lynn's class, I'm certainly looking forward to it, and we have a lovely sign-up sheet. And those of you who signed up got an email. You can also sign up today. You've got an email saying, please register and pay in advance. Now, why is that happening? It's not just because of a convention. It's because of wisdom. It's because of wisdom, because when we're in something, we need to have a commitment, because sometimes it gets uncomfortable. So Lynn is trying to kind of make it less easy for you to, your exit strategies, to co-opt your intention to see this through and find the world beneath the world that might have something really wonderful to offer you. So please feel free to sign up. There are information and flyers out in the back, so we can kind of move collectively into this experience as well. So I do want to get off this map talking. This whole construct of Sunday talks is very map oriented. But we do aspire to speak in ways that can activate a felt knowing. But it's also why we have the meditation that Lynn and Brian is going to do, so we can have a deeper experience of it. But before we go, I just want to end with a couple of things. You know, one of the promises of more embodied spirituality is collective harmony. Because our bodies are connected to the body of Christ, which is all of creation. So our bodies instinctively know right relationship with all of creation. And when we are attuned to that wisdom, we will be directed in a way, like a kaleidoscope, where our jewel of self will be part of a beautiful pattern, where our note will be part of an amazing cosmic song. We know how to be in right relationship, attuned through our embodied holiness and the living of it. And it's also what our master teacher Jesus, we talk of those of you who are newer, we talk about Jesus not as the great exception, but the great example, showing us how to be. And the teachings of Jesus contain many elements that resonate deeply with embodiment, with this map versus the territory, distinction and integration, and seeing all of creation, all of the earth, all of Earth Day as this body of Christ. So here are some of his words that particularly echo these themes. So on embodiment and direct experience, Jesus says in Matthew 13:16, "Blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear." And this simple statement, it honors the direct embodied perception over abstract knowledge. Jesus consistently values experiential knowing above mere intellectual knowing. Of course, what we say here often, the kingdom of God is within you, or the kingdom of God is literally at hand. And here Jesus locates the divine not in some distant, abstract, map-oriented realm, but within the lived experience of the body and the moment, the territory, rather than the map. Now, on maps and territories, he speaks of this as well. One of the benefits of maps is if we follow the map, then we're good, and if we're good, we're going to heaven. It makes things very simple, but it is not the teachings of Jesus. Jesus says in Mark 2:27, "The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath." And Jesus frequently is challenging religious leaders who prioritize rules and doctrines, what we could say are maps, over human well-being, care for the marginalized, and direct spiritual experience, what we could say is the territory. And this statement reminds us that from Jesus' point of view, spiritual frameworks should support well-being and life, not the other way around. He also says, "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You give 1/10 of your spices, but you have neglected the more important matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness." So, one of the things we teach is consistent giving, is tithing, because it is that giving of ourselves that support the change we want to see in the world, that supports the new story, that supports this beloved community and what we emanate in the world. And yet, even Jesus says, you Pharisees who are tithing, you are tithing perfectly, you're neglecting what's even more important. So it's the both end, but what's more important is the justice, mercy, and faithfulness. It's the territory. It's the lived experience. It's our common humanity. And then finally, on creation is sacred. Jesus has many teachings where he's telling us to emulate nature, to attune to nature, to vibrate with nature, because nature and the earth are exemplifying that inherent harmony that we can participate with when we see ourselves as part of it and not separate from it. And Jesus says, "Consider how the wild flowers grow. They do not labor or spin, yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these flowers." So these teachings reveal a deep attentiveness to the natural world and Jesus' recognition of divine presence within creation. And he invites us into a direct, embodied observation of nature, observation of life, observation of our felt sense of our relationships, of love, of compassion, of mercy, of justice, as the territory to put first. So let's kind of shift now from that as a bit mappish into experiencing it as a bit territorial-ish, And I'm going to invite Brian to bring us there with music. And then Lynn will come and do an embodied meditation that brings us to that felt sense in beautiful harmony with Brian's music, which they have really cultivated in such a lovely way. So it's beautiful to have you both and the relationship that will come forward with the embodiment. Thank you, Brian.
So I had nothing for today and sat at the piano. And then Iris, my fiance, came over and just sort of plopped her fingers on the piano and went. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'll just do that. So I want to invite you with this, because I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. If you find yourself watching or listening, like as though there's something over here to like see or watch, that you don't have to. That you can bring your attention onto yourself and the way it feels. And just give you full permission to do nothing and just receive. Looking outside in fields of flowers, I'm setting my mind down for a while. I'm turning my head to feel the raindrops. I'm walking slowly through the world. I'm calling my soul. Back from the dead, I'm checking my map to see where it goes. I'm walking outside in fields of flowers. I'm looking at birds, color to my eyes.
So now to just continue where you're already going, where you're landing inside. And there's a bit of mapping here just to start. It's a combination of mapping and then letting go, to letting your imagination go. Your imagination was really the doorway into the felt sense, into the sense that's going to guide you, that's going to lead you, bring answers, bring senses and feelings, different kinds. So, because it's Earth Day, and I'm an Earth baby, born on the 22nd of April, I was standing in the labyrinth this morning, and when I got to the center, walking it, I stood in the first petal in the center, which is minerals. And then I just said, yeah, and the earth spoke to me and it said, slow down. And so I just want to reflect that to you. In fact, I think I got the message to let you hear that. Slow down and see if you can find the earth down below you, down below your feet. To connect, like you land down on the earth as the earth actually moves up toward you to meet your feet. That you connect with the earth that way and listen to the earth's rhythm, the slow down rhythm. And then as your body is made, again from the same substance that the earth has. You come from the earth, minerals, the water, the fire, the light, and drawing up into your body. You can draw through your skin, you can draw through your feet, and just draw. Let that permeate into your body, the elements of the earth. Your breath is like the wind, is like the breeze blowing over the grass, the trees. Let the wind blow through you, through your body. Your organs, your bones, they're like the structures. They can be like the continents inside you. Let the wind blow in you where it needs to blow. Let it be directed somewhere in you. Is it your ankles, your throat? Or maybe it's the water. Or the sunlight that warms the earth. You can choose one of those. You might be attracted to one more than the other. And allow that to permeate deep inside and let your imagination go as the elements of the earth swirl through your body in healing. And notice that the earth builds tension. It has a way of releasing the tension. It might earthquake. It might feel a tension and then it bursts as a volcano. You can let the lava flow through you. I'm giving you a lot of signposts here, a lot of mapping. Now I'm just going to let you go and just let your imagination play inside your body as we listen to more of what comes through Brian with sound. And really allow your body to move the way it needs to move right now, just where you are. You have a space around you. You can use it. Just let yourself play. elements are in you. The movement is constant. Allow it to really be all that it's emerging in you. And just be aware of your breath, not to have to do anything in particular with it, but just being aware as that breeze blows through inside you, all the way to your toes, your hair, the lava. Swells and resides, expands and contracts. Just as there are places on the earth that need healing, that need water maybe, that need attention. There's some places inside your body where there might be needing water or lava or your loving care as you would care for the plants and the animals. Place in you and allow it to move.
As you feel the sound in your body, breathe it in deeply. Feel it as your sound, deep in your bones, and all the cells and places even below and within. wants to come from you, a sound, a breath, a movement, just allow it. You have permission. You have full permission to be just as you are. To receive this sound as what's here.
As the music quiets down, find that resting place in your body where you want to bring your final conclusion of this trip. Let the energy gather in your place. It might be in your heart, but it may not be. Let your inner knowing knows where the center is now, where your center is. It might be different than you've been told. Listen to it. Center in that place of quiet knowing inside you. And when you're ready to just be aware of everyone else around you, the sanctuary, the congregation, all of us together, and then opening your eyes little by little if they're closed, and opening them a little by little and keeping your awareness inside of that center place where you landed. And keeping 98% of your awareness inside and just 2% outside as you open your eyes. And taking your time to do that. And taking that last nice breath of wind with your imagination, letting it swoop through your body. Swoop through your body, your whole interior. And let the wind blow through you as you exhale and let go. And I hope, Shara, didn't scare you about my class, because we're going to create a real container of safety. And you'll be doing a lot of internal work. And I hope we'll be doing some journaling as well. So I'm going to have fun and play, explore, and go deep. All of that. Thank you. Thank you.
Just take a moment to come back from this trip, the musical trip that we went, and the words that went with it. It was just beautiful. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Well, it's time for us to welcome our guests. We welcome our guests that are here in person and online. We're so grateful that you are here and have joined us today. Here at Unity of Tustin, we believe in one God, one heart, many paths. And our mission is to transform lives and inspire people to make a positive difference in the world. We are a fully inclusive community of all walks of life, and we would like you to know that whatever your background and wherever you are on your spiritual path, we are glad you're here to continue your journey with us. Our beautiful ushers are here and have coming forward with flowers and welcome cards for those who are here for the first and second time. So if you're comfortable in doing so, we invite you to raise your hand so we can recognize you and present you with these gifts. Anybody here for the first time? Oh, wow. Okay, welcome. Welcome indeed. Welcome. And here too, welcome. Okay. We invite everyone to join us after the service for food and fellowship around the hospitality table, and make sure to stop by our open door bookshop and reading room and also Welcome Center. That's just around the corner. Also, as always, we have our Reiki practitioners wearing green ribbons and our prayer chaplains wearing white ribbons, who will be at the entrance of the meditation garden ready to offer you prayer and healing support. All prayers are confidential. And we love to pray with you. In addition, there are prayer request forms in the seat backs in front of you, and at a table at the garden's entrance where they can be left in the prayer box. They will be lovingly held in prayer by our silent prayer team ministry. There's always so much happening here on our campus of consciousness. Please make sure to check your email each Friday for our weekly e-newsletter and visit the welcome table for more information about many upcoming and ongoing classes, events, and opportunities to serve as part of our beloved Unity of Tustin community. Now it's the time for us to receive our love offerings as we share our financial gifts in support of our ministry. The various electronic ways to give are here on the screen and listed on the card in the seat backs in front of you. We also pass the offering bags to receive in-person donations. In whatever form that you choose to give, we invite you to briefly hold your hand over the offering bag as it passes along, taking that moment to connect with the spirit of giving. We are grateful for your faith and generosity, and I invite Reverend Shara to bless us.
Thank you, John Claude. Thank you, Brian and Lynn. Thank you, Carl Jung, who told us the more bizarre, the better, right? And I really appreciate the difference, like a different way to pray, a different way to touch into a place that we otherwise don't get to. And I really feel very grateful to have maybe scratched some different spiritual itches today in a way that brings forward more wholeness. So, I talked earlier about how here at Unity of Tustin we all come together to bring forward this beloved community. So let's just take a moment to express our gratitude for each other in advance, and gratitude for our commitment to this beautiful community and to manifesting our core values in this world as we affirm our love offering blessing together. Divine love, as we blesses and multiplies all that we are, all that we have, all that we give, and all that we receive. Enjoy.
My intention here is just to continue with what is, with your bodies and with your feelings and with where you are, to hold yourselves very lightly and just, I'm feeling kind of like some of this. The moment strikes and everything is changing you. I hope you feel is old but new. Holding on with our song, the world began. The memory fades and all this place it comes and gives what we are.
Thank you, Brian. So let's all stand up and prepare for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Go forth and celebrate Earth Day.